We are reading from the Yogasutras. This is our online class number 31, and we are studying the second chapter, aphorism number 40 onwards. Let me recall that so far we have studied about the achievements in respect of Yama, that is a set of 5 disciplines. We also began with the results of practicing Niyama or the rules. Niyama is the second limb of the yoga practice. The first one is the Yama and Niyama is the second one. Yama means disciplines and Niyama the rules, which are 5 in number. This helps us purify ourselves internally. The Yama disciplines have to be supported by the rules of internal cleansing, or else the external efforts will not be effective and also will not be sustainable. That will be an end of yoga itself if we do not practice these together. Let me read the first aphorism, which speaks of the result of the first of the 5 rules. Shauchat swanga jugupsa parair asangsargah. Shauchat swanga jugupsa. Internal and external cleansing or cleanliness being established, there arises disgust that one thought of one's own body as permanent. And also one rejects non-spiritual attachment with others. Shaucha or cleanliness or purity actually means purity of body, mind and speech. This purification helps a yogi to get rid of animalistic love, a love mostly established at the physical level. Still, Patanjali recommends some qualities that have to be practiced with others for the good of our own spiritual life. So we have to remember that the qualities of Maitri, friendliness, Karuna, compassion, etc. are qualities that are not contrary to yoga practice of Saucha or purity. As I said last time, these qualities, when practiced without selfish interest, they are not limited to the physical body. They are the expressions of love of the yogis, which rather help him or her to practice detachment. In such a consideration in mind, a yogi's desire to have the company of even his or her own near and dear ones, like his own people back at home, or his disciples, or his devotees, that will not be bound by or limited to physical considerations. Swami Vivekananda goes still further and says, I quote here, what the world calls a very common phase, he, a yogi, regards it as heavenly, if the spirit shines behind it. If the spirit shines behind it. Once Sri Ramakrishna said to his disciples, I see Narayana or God among you, in you, That is why I love you, I like you. The day I will not be able to see that, I will not be able to look at your faces. So, the yogi sees the spirit that shines behind these physical bodies. So, this thirst after body is the great bane of human life. So, the first sign of the establishment of purity is that you do not care to think you as a body. It is only when purity comes that we get rid of the body idea. Unquote. So we came up to this during our last discussion, that was on 10th October. Now I should draw your attention to the fact that by these explanations, the commentators are not trying to say that one must hate one's own body if one has to become a yogi. That is far from the real intention and teaching. The idea is not to hate the body, but to get rid of our permanent attachment to the body. And that is because the body itself is not permanent. We grow our attachment to the body because of the delusion that the body is real and the self is unreal. That is a contrary idea, contrary to the truth. And that there is no real me behind and without this body. This is called a Deha Sarvasya or Dehatmavadi view of one's own self. Dehatmavadi view. The view that this body is the self. And based on this very unscientific and also an idea which is not approved by the scriptures, many religions deal with the case of our death and birth. They believe that this body is the Atman and it will survive the death of the body and it will go to heaven. There is a big debate on this issue in the Mimamsa philosophy, the Purva Mimamsa philosophy, which is one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. It's a big debate about that. In course of yoga practices, a yogi slowly detaches himself or herself from the body, thinking that it is not the reality. This has been indicated by the word jugupsa or hatred. The idea of hatred here is not just a bad quality to hate something which is good, but it is a hatred which tells us that we should hate those things which stand as obstacles in our spiritual path. Another effect of this practice is that you grow the habit of purity and slowly appreciate its strong effect in spiritual and also material life. If you practice to keep the body clean, you will start disliking your own body when it is unclean. You will take care that you give it a good wash and shower, etc. This disliking the unclean body is called Swanga Jugupsa, one's hatred towards one's own unclean body. It's the hatred towards the uncleanliness, towards the dirty condition of the body, not the body. Patanjali did not stop here. He goes further with the same Shaucha or cleanliness in the next aphorism. Actually, he is going to explain Saucha as purification in the broadest sense of the term. I will explain Shaucha as I discussed in our last retreat in Binvaide, in our retreat house. The retreat was held from 22nd to 24th October. Many of you are not present in those talks. Also, I did not have enough time to bring in many good materials to support the idea of Shaucha. So it is worth learning how much meaning this one simple rule holds for our spiritual progress. Let me recall the 3 regular points from the Yogasutras. We try to repeat them again and again so that we keep those ideas in mind and do not misunderstand the word yoga itself. So the 3 points are that we have learned that yoga means samadhi. Yoga means samadhi. Second is that yoga has 8 limbs that take us to the last destination called samadhi. Samadhi is included here and as the 8th limb. And samadhi is achieved as the result of a disconnection or yoga. See the meaning here. Because of a disconnection or yoga between the material universe and the conscious self. So yoga does not mean a connection. According to the Yoga Sutra, yoga means a disconnection. Please remember this. We have to remember it as long as we are studying the Yoga Sutras. The 8 limbs yoga are, the 8 limbs of yoga are yama, means a set of 5 disciplines, niyama, a set of 5 rules, asana, that includes posture and the seat, pranayama, breathing and prana or vital force control, pratyahara, withdrawal of the mind from harmful things and ideas, dharana, the process of attaching our thoughts to our spiritual goal, and dhyanam, concentration on the spiritual goal, samadhi, mastering the concentration until the spiritual freedom of the bound soul is achieved. Yama, the first limb, is constituted of 5 disciplines, which we have already learned. Now we take up niyama or the rules, which too have 5 components. They are Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhanam. We shall explain them one by one, beginning with Saucha, the first one. Actually, the book Yoga Sutra is doing that for us. We will go through them one by one. The first rule or niyama is called Shaucha. It can be translated as cleanliness, very easily translated as cleanliness or purification. This is one of the 5 niyamas or rules prescribed by the Yoga Sutras. These are known as the preliminaries to the 8 limbs of the yoga. As I have said, Shaucha, though literally means cleanliness, actually means purity. Purity of all kinds. It means both external and internal purity. All religions and also all ethics emphasize on the practice of purity. The Bible says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." In the Vedic tradition of the Sanatana Dharma, Shaucha is known as cleanliness, but mostly it is known as Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the mind. By cleanliness or purification, we generally understand that we have to remove some dirt or dust or some unwanted or unnecessary ingredients from a surface or from a thing. But mental purification is not like that. That is a big difference here. One has to reorient the mental energy from its rajas or tamas states and finally of its sattva state also. Reorientation is necessary. You don't need to clean it, sweep them out. There is no question of removing, but the question of reorienting. A kind of guiding the energy to flow through the proper channel. Clear? Please remember it. Mental purity does not mean removing something, dirt or dust from it, but reorienting or rechannelizing the same energy towards our goal. You know, Swami Vivekananda was so successful in stirring the minds of about 7,000 people in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. He was later asked by one of his disciples what was the yogic power that he used to move so many people to stand up on their feet. Swami Vivekananda replied, the power of purity. Purity in thought, word and deed. Now see, even the same Swami Vivekananda would shiver in fear when he went to see the Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi. It so happened that once Swami Vivekananda wanted to meet Holy Mother. He was living in Belmont on the river Ganga, on the other bank of which lived the Holy Mother. You know, there is a belief that if someone takes bath in the Ganga, one will be free from physical and mental impurities. Swami Vivekananda took bath that day in the Ganga. He took a boat to cross the river. The Swami was so scared to meet the mother that while sitting on the boat, he went on sprinkling Ganga water on his body to make it pure, and also went on sipping water to make his inner organs, including the mind, pure. Because he was going to meet Holy Mother, the purity of God incarnated in human form. Once the same Holy Mother was crossing a deserted field by walk in the darkness of the evening. Her companions were a bit faster than her, so she was left way behind them. At that moment, there appeared a robber. The robber did not dare to do any harm to her. She faced the robber calmly. When they were conversing, there appeared the wife of the robber. And finally it so happened that the robber couple escorted her across the field and afterwards became a lifelong follower of Mother. Needless to mention that it was by the strength of her purity that she conquered the minds of the robber couple. There is a very significant incident in the life of Holy Mother herself. It happened in Jairambati, the birthplace of Mother. She was staying there at that time. It happened during a very cold day in the winter. You know, in India there is no heating system to keep our houses warm in winter. If the temperature falls as low as 7 degrees centigrade outside, it will be at least 1 degree less inside the house. Anyway, on one such wintry evening, Nalini Didi, a niece of Mother, who was the cook for preparing dinner for the household that evening, came back home. She was a bit fussy about external purity. She told Holy Mother that she had to take bath immediately because she had touched something unholy. Holy Mother told her, "My dear, it is very cold now. You don't need to take bath. Just change your clothes and wash your hands and feet. That will do. Nalini Didi protested, saying, "No, I have to take bath." Again mother said, "Well, you may sprinkle some Ganges, Ganga water on your body, and that will remove your impurities. You don't have to take bath. You might catch cold." This also did not satisfy Nalini. Then mother firmly told her, "Then touch me. See the strength of holiness and purity. God is pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanancha mangalam." Purity, auspiciousness and goodness together in the highest form. The Vishnu Sahasranama sings it this way. Swami Abhedananda, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, writes the same attributes in the name of Holy Mother, saying, "Her life is a saga of purity manifesting in every moment and action of hers, pavitram charitam yasya, etc. And also pavitram, pavitrata swarupini, she is purity incarnate." While commenting on the current aphorism, the commentator Vyasa says that Shaucha means both internal and external purity. Both are equally important and necessary. In all religions, external purity like washing hands, mouth, feet, etc. are recommended before entering a holy place. There are such other rituals that one has to obey in visiting temples, churches, mosques, etc. But these externals should not be the ultimate objective of spirituality. They are needed. Of course they are needed. But their ritualistic meanings of do's and don'ts have to be respected so far as they are actually necessary. We should know the limit of the purpose behind their observances and then try to go beyond them, transcend them. External cleanliness includes cleanliness of the body, of the clothes, of the rooms, of the food, of the drinking water, of the air, of the courtyard, of the streets, of the cities, and so on and so forth. And then cleaning the atmosphere, the climate, that is of so vital importance for the survival of our species. Keeping the environment clean from all solid, liquid and gaseous wastes and such things also comes under the meaning of Shaucha. But we have to know and know it clearly that it may be easy to purify the external me by some external water or agent. But how to clean the mind? We will look into that too. Not only that, external cleanliness should also be associated with holy or clean, pure thoughts. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmanah, etc. That means when one is going to meditate, one needs to choose a place which is shuchi or which has some kind of sanctity about it. After choosing the place, one should spread a proper seat there and sit on it in a good posture to maintain steadiness of the body. Then one will be able to do good progress in the practice of concentration and meditation. We can see how both the external and internal purity would go together to boost our spiritual progress. Internal purity or the purity of the mind has many layers of it. Our mind has at least 3 different kinds of impurities in it. They are called the malas in Sanskrit, malas, impurities. The malas are known as the gunas. The gunas are malas. Chitta malas, the gunas. Sattva guna, rajo guna and tamo guna. Internal Shaucha or purity of mind means purifying the mind from the effects of the gunas. Sattva, rajas. Sattva, is tranquility, rajas, restlessness, and tamas, inertia or lethargy or laziness. Tamoguna or a lazy mindset is the most impure of the 3 gunas. Hence, one should use rajoguna or an active mindset to come out of this impurity. Then rajoguna can be purified by giving it a sattva direction. Then finally, it will be easy to transcend the limitations of sattva guna also. There is a wonderful debate or discussion about the purity of the food. This scrutiny is caused by a Upanishadic mantra of the Chandogya Upanishad, which says, Ahara Suddhau Sattva Suddhi, Sattva Suddhau Dhruva Smritihi, etc. It examines how our food, ahara, can be purified. Acharya Ramanuja was the proponent of qualified monism. This is known as Vishishtadvaita, which is a compromise between the dualistic and non-dualistic philosophies. He says that each food is affected by 3 doshas or impurities. Jati dosha, impurity about the type of food. Ashraya dosha, impurity that is added by germs, bacteria, virus, etc. And nimitta dosha, impurity is added due to the impure purpose behind the food. Jati dosha means defect, and jati means a kind or a type, a class. Hence, food that are by nature impure, because they disturb physical and mental peace, should be avoided, or their consumption should be slowly reduced. Avoided means to be reduced slowly. Ashraya dosha, food being contaminated by external associations of bacteria, germs, viruses, fermentation, etc. And the last one is nimitta dosha, food produced, distributed, procured and consumed by unethical means and ways. One has to practice Saucha or purification in respect of these 3 dosas or defects. Anyway, while many of us seem to be too obsessed with external purity, we are not careful about observing internal purity. There is a well-known song by Mirabai. Mirabai is perhaps the most famous female saint of India. This song says, if it is true that one would know God by taking baths after baths, then the fishes would have realized God by their very birth itself. If by eating only the fruits and roots one would realize God, then the birds and monkeys are already realized, and so on. That is why people find it hard to accept a religious person's hypocrisy in this matter. Outside a face and inside a different one. If you live with such people, you will discover this hypocrisy very, very soon. These people's hypocrisy becomes pathological or professional. They maintain 2 faces, one for the public and the other, the real one, for their private life. Their real life is based on lies, dichotomies. Be that as it may, Shankara goes a step further and includes both external and internal purity as of vital importance in spiritual life. According to him, ahara or food means what is taken in. Ahara, ahriyati means what is taken in, or what is procured, gathered, or received. That can be done not only by means of food, but by the foods of all our senses. The eyes, the ears, nose, tongue, skin, and also the mind. They can take things in. That is why Shankara has written about the fatal effects of the sense organs. He has given the examples of 5 creatures: the deer, the elephant, the moths or insects, the fish, and the flies or honeybees. Let us look at the danger that lurks itself behind the ears due to the ear's object known as sound. The poor deer is charmed by the sweet sounds made by a hunter, and then is killed when it proceeds towards the sound. Similarly, there lies danger behind the skin due to its object touch. A trained elephant lures a wild one by the charm of its touch and leads it into trap, into a ditch. Let us look at the danger that hides itself behind the eyes due to its object's sight. The moth or the ephemera, the short-lived insects. They are attracted by the sight of fire and unwittingly get burned while rushing into it. There lies danger behind the tongue due to its object taste. The fish, hungry for the bait, eagerly jumps up to bite into it and gets caught and killed. Similarly, there is danger hiding behind the nose due to its object called smell. The honeybee, intoxicated by the fragrance of the flowers, gathers honey and stores it in its hive. It is subsequently destroyed when humans set fire to the hive to obtain the honey. By this verse, Shankara did not just narrate how our own sense organs each leads us to fatal dangers. Rather, he says that we, the human beings, are endowed with all these organs, all these 5 sense organs, and they are very active in us. So each one of them would be able to push an animal into death. Then what would be the condition of a human being in whom all these sense organs are active, very active? Hence, we should be very, very careful and be careful against the harmful effects of these sense organs. Well, let me analyze the case of one sense organ, the eyes, which will show us how each one of them are capable of ruining our spiritual life, ruining us. The eyes have wide range access to the material world. They use the instrument called light, which is the fastest of all weapons or of all the means, either to destroy us or to give us realization. The ears use sound, which is not that fast. The nose uses smell, which is slow to move. The tongue uses taste that is produced only on the tongue. And the skin uses touch, which does not have a wide field of experiences. So the eyes use light as its instrument. Hence, its effects would be very, very fast. This most potent and the fastest instrument can be used as a weapon to harm our spiritual progress, or can be used to benefit us spiritually. Suppose, for example, I see your face. Eyes are endowed with the power of seeing. They are able to see. No other sense organs can see. So there is no harm for the eyes to see your face. Actually speaking, the eyes are meant for that purpose only. But if I look back to see your face again, it shows that I have given attention to it. If again I look at your face the third time, that shows that I have some intention. If, however, I look back again, that shows that I am growing attachment to it. And if I cannot stay without looking at your face, I am almost addicted to it. But the eyes are mere instruments, karanam, instruments. And these eye instruments can only work with the help of light. Hence the light is a subsidiary instrument. The eyes are karanam and the light is the upakaranam, subsidiary instrument. Both the light and the eyes are being used for the purpose of somebody else which is different from these both. Right? That somebody or something which is different from the eyes, the light and the objects that we see is the inner organ, the mind. There is a sutra or aphorism which says, Sanghatasya pararthatvat. All the combinations or compounds are meant for somebody else, not for themselves. There is a beautiful analysis of the sequence of preceding subject-object relations, directing our search for the real seer more inside than the mind. This is the gist of the book Drik Drishya Vivekaha, or a discernment between the seer and the seen, the subject and the object. The book began with the outermost subject-object relation. It was a relation between the eyes and its or their objects. Rupam drishyam, the visible or seeable things are objects, drishyam. Lochanam drik, the eyes, the seers, in this case, are the subject in the act of seeing. Tadrishyam, again, that these subject eyes become objects to something prior to them or interior to them. And that something is now druktumanasam, the mind, the preceding seer or the subject. The eyes experienced the objects with the help of their power called the sight. The book Drigdrishya Viveka has shown how the outermost subject, the eyes, could be turned into objects of the mind. The mind becomes the subject and the earlier subject eyes become the objects to the mind. This way the book took us step by step to the still earlier or still more interior subject-object relations. We start with the mind as the subject here. At this point, when we are discussing Shaucha or mental purity, we have to start with the mind here. It is now difficult to go beyond this subject mind and find the still more interior subject, the self, the real me. Because for both material and spiritual searches or researches or practices, we use the mind as the subject. The subject mind perceives and experiences the world with the help of the sense organs. At the same time, the same subject mind will now try to go in search of something more interior, which will take its place as the subject and turn the mind itself into an object. Let us look at our experiences in the world. The eyes see an apple, but actually speaking, if the mind is not connected with the eyes, even if the eyes are open, the light is there, still the eyes cannot see a thing in front of them, cannot see the apple. That means when the mind is connected with the eyes or the sense organs can take in ahara, can take in the experiences of the objects. Hence, the main subject in all our worldly experiences that we gather through the senses is surely the mind. So the mind is the main subject, so far as we know. At least it thinks about it that way. Right? Now you ask the mind to become avritta chakshuhu, to turn its gaze behind it and search for its subject, the observer of the mind. And that the mind has to find out. This new plan says that the mind object will have to search for a subject. Let me repeat it. The lifeless object will search for a conscious subject. This stands contrary to our lifelong experiences, that it is always a subject that searches for the object, not the other way around. Hence, there will be complications in executing our plan. Because in the first instance, when the subject eyes were turned into an object of the mind, there was no problem. But now, the mind has to be converted into the object, and at the same time, the same mind has to play the role of the subject also. Now, mind is studying the mind. This is a mind-boggling proposition. It is indeed so. The danger is that this last backward process, being conducted by the mind in search of a subject behind the mind itself, will finally rob the mind of its subjecthood. The poor mind has to do it by turning its attention behind it. Now the mind will use itself to search for the subject, the witness self. At this point, the question of Shaucha or purification of the mind gets its real validity. It is like the object trying to know the subject. Like for example, an apple is an object of our eyes. The mind knows the apple through the agency of the eyes. Now suppose you ask the apple to know the eyes. It cannot. Then again, when you ask it to know the mind behind the eyes, it becomes still absurd. The object cannot know the subject because it is illogical, impractical. Because if the subject knows the subject, then the subject becomes an object of the object. And on the contrary, the object will become the subject. And that is not the purpose here. So it is a very difficult situation for the mind to turn its gaze backward and then know what is there behind it as its subject. But there is a process which is called the process of purification of the mind, Shaucha. When the mind becomes fully pure or perfect, The mind does not know that it knows the self. When the mind becomes perfect or pure, perfectly pure, it does not know that it knows the self. Then what happens? The self knows that it knows the mind. And it was never caught up in the object. We can never know the self as an object. But when we know that our mind is an instrument for us, we are realized. The mind need not be destroyed. The eyes need not be destroyed. And also the light or the objects in the world need not be destroyed. All will remain at their places. But the self will know them all as different from it, as its objects. That is the real knower. Then the process of purification, Saucha, will be that we should try to teach the mind how to avoid its contacts with the external objects through the agency of the eyes, etc. Our contacts with the material things happen mainly for three purposes. For using them in order to damage our spiritual or even material well-being, then for the purposes of our liberation from our bondages, and thirdly for the purpose of remaining neutral about the things of attachment. This neutrality is achieved through the balancing between the good and evil effects of a sense organ. And this balancing is known as conquering our senses, Indriya Jayam, Jitendriya. Comparing the limitation of the eyes, Jesus says in the Bible, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Look at the statement in the last sentence. Jesus says, if then the light within you is darkness, how great is the darkness? The sentence seems to be a riddle or a contradictory statement. No, it is not. Let me explain it. Sri Ramakrishna says, in the daylight of your ignorance, O man, you do not see any stars in the sky. But do not think for sure that there are no stars in the sky. That is how we humans validate our ignorance, or better said, stupidity. Ignorant people think and say that there is no God. This abysmal ignorance is considered as our light, our knowledge. And hence we do not hesitate or rather take pride to pass judgments about anything that we actually do not know. This is such a blinding ignorance or darkness that we think that it is our knowledge, it is our light. So Jesus laments, if then the light within you is darkness, if the knowledge within you is just ignorance, how great is that ignorance? Tama ase tamasa gudham agre praketam. Darkness was covered with more darkness, says the oldest poem ever written by our species, which is known as the song of creation in the Rig Veda. Tama ase tamasa gudham. It was covered with blinding darkness. There was darkness, and that darkness was covered with blinding darkness. Sri Ramakrishna puts it in the most practical example, saying, a jaundiced eye sees everything yellow. True, how great is that darkness. During Sri Ramakrishna's time, two over-enthusiastic devotees of his went on advertising that Sri Ramakrishna was an avatar, an incarnation of God. This displeased Sri Ramakrishna himself. Disapprovingly he remarked, one is a doctor, another is a dramatist. What do they know about an avatar, an incarnation of God? And to say the least, they have the guts to tell people that I am an avatar, incarnation of God, unquote. Yes, we are inclined to repeat, painfully though, the same sentence here, how dazzling and blinding our ignorance is. Well, we have seen in the Yogasutras what our spiritual liberation or realization can do for us. The realized yogis do not destroy the senses, we have said that. Neither do they destroy the sense objects in this world. They cannot, or better said, they do not need to do these things. Rather, they remain in the world and with the mind withdrawn from its identification with the sense organs, continue with their body to share knowledge with others. The only holy purpose that justifies their continuance in the world is welfare of fellow beings, welfare of humanity. Once again, let me remind you that we are looking into the effect of one sense organ called the eyes. How do the eyes attain the neutrality in the midst of the world of sight, the world that is mostly cognized due to our eyesight? Let us recall two celebrated verses from the scriptures. The Kathopanishad says, Shuryo yatha sarvalokasya chakshuhu, etc. The sun, being the light, illuminates every object so that they are cognized by the sense organ, the eyes. If the eye is good, it will see good in the objects. If the eye is bad, it will see all badness in the objects. But these good or bad will not affect the sun. This is called a neutrality on the part of the light. Similarly, Sri Krishna says in the Gita, Yatha prakashayatyeka, etc. Like the sun, the self or the kshetri, the knower of the world, illuminates or cognizes everything, kritsnam kshetram, without being involved in them. This is an example of neutrality on the part of the eyes and all the sense organs for that matter of the realized yogi. Sri Ramakrishna says, the light is neutral about what you do with it. Suppose there is a lamp burning. A man is reading the Bhagavatam, he says, a scripture in its light, while another man might be faking a currency note in the same light. The light of the lamp is not affected by either the good work or the bad work. It remains neutral in the midst of all good or bad done in its presence. That is why the evidence of a third-party neutral witness is so important in the eye of law. Sri Krishna again says in the Gita, Vishaya vinivartante, etc. The meaning of the verse is so wonderful. The nirahara, the people who have withdrawn their sense organs from their objects. The objects of enjoyments fail to activate them. Then our battle with the physical senses is thus won. But the rasa, the interests in those sense objects that are lost in the mind continues with us till the end. That is, until we have spiritual realization. The rasa is of two kinds. This interest is of two kinds. It is, number one, in the form of inquisitiveness or of the curiosity about what the taste of an experience would be that one gets because of the interaction between the senses and their objects. Suppose you have never tasted alcohol and you decide not to try it any time. So you may suffer from a curiosity about how it feels when one drinks alcohol. That curiosity will haunt you. Then number two, rasa also means memory of the earlier enjoyments of the sense objects. You dwell on the experience that you had in the past. These are two types of torments that would continue to haunt one who has decided to make the sense organs neutral. But after the realization of the goal or freedom, this rasa, the interest, will have no meaning for the realized yogis. Okay friends, I will stop here. We have come to the end of our time. I am thankful to you for your participation. We will end our talk here while chanting Om once. Om.